What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for the first predicted lineup of pre-season. Spurs kick off tomorrow, 11 o'clock in Perth against West Ham in our first pre-season friendly. It's going to be great to see Tottenham back on that pitch. First game under ANGE Postecoglou, a few debutants as well in the offing, but how excited are you to see Spurs against him?
I'm especially to see Ange ball. I am absolutely buzzing, to be honest. I think there's going to be a lot of renaissances happening in this pre-season, and I'm all for it. I'm all for to see a new look at these players under a new system, a new way of playing. And I never thought I'd say this after last season, but I'm excited to see Spurs back in action.
Come on. I am absolutely buzzing to see Spurs back in action. You can see by the big smile on my face, we are under 24 hours now away from Spurs kicking off. It's always hard to do these predicted lineups, especially for the first game back of pre-season. So what we're going to do today is we're going to base it around what Spurs have been doing in training. So what they've been doing is 11 on 11 today in Perth. And we're going to go through both of those lineups. And we envisage that it could be potentially maybe one of these teams playing the first half, one of these teams playing the second half, maybe a hybrid of the two. But we'll get into the first lineup and the second lineup. Starting off with the first one, in goal is going to be Vicario. So hopefully a debut for our brand new goalkeeper.
Yeah, and he's been who seems to be chosen for the first team. Obviously, with Forster injured, Lloris left at home, there's not going to be any other option than Vicario starting. But I'm excited to see him because as much as obviously we've done our research on him, it'll be good to actually get a first look at him like playing in the flesh in a Tottenham shirt. So excited to see what he's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So Vicario in goal. And by the way, this is going to be a 4-3-3 formation. That's what they've been doing in pre-season so far. So right back, we're going to look at Pedro Porro.
Yeah, which is interesting because there were doubts about him playing the inverted wing-back role or inverted full-back role, but it does seem as though that's the role he's been chosen in training. As there was a bit of discussion, would he go wider right or will he be inverted? Does seem to be inverted at the moment. So, and he seems to be preferred right now to Emerson. Obviously, we don't know for sure at the start of the season who's going to be starting, but in terms of the lineups, it looks like Porro's preferred right now.
Yeah, very interesting.
And Spence is training away on his own by the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at these two lineups and I was kind of thinking that potentially Emerson might be better for that inverted role because we have seen him do that role quite successfully. But it'll be interesting to see what Ange has planned for Porro, that's for sure. In terms of moving into the right centre-back, we're looking at Cuti Romero, and he's already left gashes on many of the players' legs so far.
Exactly. And I'm looking at the centre-backs, to be honest, and it's so
slim pickings, isn't it?
Honestly, it's so hard to look at our centre-back options. I'm looking at the rest of the squad. It's actually starting to shape up quite nicely. When you look at the centre-back spot, it's like, oh my God, we've got so much work to do. But he's the only shining light. So I'm excited to see him back in action as well and how he's going to perform in a more high-pressing kind of attacking system.
I'm sure the West Ham players aren't looking forward to coming up to Cuti Romero in the first pre-season game back. But next to him, it's been Japhet Tanganga playing on the left-hand side of a back two.
I think that's interesting. I think that's really interesting because if you look at the other defenders, you might argue that Tanganga's probably best suited out the other defenders to kind of play how Ange wants. So possibly they're making a look at Tanganga as potentially an option as someone who could maybe stay within the squad potentially, and that's maybe why they've been partnering with Romero in early signs. So maybe Tanganga, he's going to have another shot. That could be interesting.
Yeah, it definitely could be interesting. I mean, we've never seen him on the left-hand side of a back two. I mean, have we ever seen him in a back two in general?
Yeah, usually back three. I think we've seen him on the left of a back three and it didn't turn out too well. So I think it was during that period in January in Conte's first season. He had a few appearances there. So I'm interested to see how he'll do. And look, he is aggressive. He's fast.
I think he's got the physicality to do it.
So maybe it's
just about does he have the quality to do it?
I think Tanganga has always been hamstrung by just lack of consistent minutes and being able to hold down a place in the team.
And injuries, yeah.
And injuries, exactly. Well, that's part of the reason. So maybe... but I think he does have the quality potentially. So maybe Postecoglou's seen something in training and think, look, I think he's probably the best centre back to partner Romero for now.
All right. On the left hand side, we are looking at Sergio Reguilón back in the frame in a Tottenham Hotspur shirt, and I was quite surprised that it wasn't Destiny Udogie there in that team.
Yeah, but you got to remember Udogie's still very young, 20 years of age. You got to remember Reguilón has a bit more experience, a bit older. He was also one of the most sought after fullbacks when we did sign him, and I think he hasn't had last couple of years haven't been so great for him, but he's still a good left back, and I think he's got potential to stay on if he can show Ange that he's capable of playing in his way. I think he's a good player personally. So you got to remember he's the more experienced left back, so it's not totally surprising that he's preferred to Itoje for now.
All right, so let's run through that defence with you guys one more time. In goal is Vicario, a brand new goalkeeper. Right back Pedro Porro, left back Sergio Reguilon, with Romero and Tanganga making up that defence. Now, in the number 6 position, we are looking at Bissouma. And if you guys have been following the preseason tour and even before the preseason tour, this guy, Yves Bissouma, has been front and centre of everything the media are doing right now. And he seems to be, literally centre of all the camaraderie in the dressing room at the moment.
Yeah, he seems to be the glue that sticks the whole group together right now. He's bringing great energy, especially on the videos that we've seen. And apparently as well, I mean, from the training clips I've seen, he seems to be full of confidence and playing really well. Some of the journalists have been reporting as well that he's been one of the shining lights in training. So his performances are matching his off the pitch kind of energy that he's providing. And I, for one, don't see. I know people have had reservations about him playing this role, but I can't see a reason why he can't. I think he's brilliant defensively. He always tops the marks in the Premier League for like tackles, interceptions, and able to cover ground. And I think he's really underrated with his ability to break pressing and play the ball forward as well. So I see him being someone who definitely has the capability to play this number 6 role for me.
I agree with you, but to be fair, I've only ever heard one person say he can't make it in the number 6 role. Name will be left unsaid, but no, I think Bissouma is suited to that role. I think it's a role he played at Brighton as well. But look, Yves Bissouma is a top player, and everyone has been saying as soon as Ange Postecoglou came in, this guy is going to be a central figure and he's going to come on leaps and bounds after a disappointing season last year, and I firmly believe that. Next up in midfield, we're going to look at another new signing in James Maddison.
Yeah, and it looks like he's going to be in the midfield 3. We know he's obviously going to play that more advanced number 8 role, like kind of hybrid between the number 8 and number 10. It was interesting to hear, I was listening to an interview Maddison gave while he was at Leicester. He was talking about how he plays usually number 10, but he can play that number 8 role, and he does like to get involved in the build-up and come pick up the ball from deeper areas. So I'm sure he's going to be doing a lot of that for Tottenham. Obviously, it's going to be brilliant to see him in the Tottenham shirt for the first time. And look, it's going to be great to have a goal threat for midfield again.
Absolutely. And if you're talking about goal threats, let's talk about this other player who's going to make up the third of the 3 in midfield. And much to some people's delight, some to much people's dismay, it is Tanguy Ndombele training with what looks like the first team of the first team at the moment. And look, as much as whatever I've said about Tanguy Ndombele, as much as I don't want to see him here, I don't think he's going to cut it out here for his application off the ball and his energy levels and everything like that. I did say as well, if Ange Postecoglou believes in him, if Ange Postecoglou wants to give him a go, I will be fully backing it. So I guess that's what I got to do right now, is fully back it. So let's bring on the Tanguy revolution.
Look, the Tanguy Ndombele renaissance is in full swing. I'm all here for it, and I'm delighted of the fact that he looks like, from what I've seen in training, he looks to be really applying himself. He looks to be playing really well as well. In terms of like how he's kind of incorporated in the group, him and Bissouma seem inseparable at the moment. They seem to really developing a bromance between the two, and I think he's really starting to integrate himself within the group again after a couple years away. And look, we know the bags of ability he's got, and I really believe he's the key right now in terms of if I'm going to assume that we're not going to sign any more midfielders, which is obviously up for debate if Højbjerg stays or not, but if I assume that we're going forward this season with the midfield that we got, I think Ndombele is the key of having a good midfield to like an excellent midfield, potentially, if we can unlock his ability. And I'm excited to see if he does start tomorrow, what he brings even to a pre-season game, because hopefully that can start setting the tone for his comeback.
It's going to be the new Lamella, just turn up in pre-season, never see him
pre-season
again.
Messi.
Yeah,
It's going to be the pre-season Yaya Toure.
Yeah, literally. But look, I think we all know the ability that this guy has, and if he can show this ability on the football pitch for us, I think you're absolutely right. But that still is very much up for debate and remains to be seen right now. But that midfield 3 does look on paper very, very nice. impressed with
Looks
Bissouma,
sausage.
Maddison and Ndombele. Very creative, very tricky, and definitely know where the goal is as well, that's for sure. But let's move on to the attacking front line in the front three. And on the right-hand side, we're going to look at Deki.
Yeah, and he is as well. I've been keeping an eye on him on pre-season. He's looking sharp again, looking creative, looking happy. Obviously, in that wide role, it's going to be interesting to see how he adapts to it, because I will talk about Son in a bit, but I've been looking a bit on the clips, and Son definitely seems to be hugging the touchline and getting to the byline. So I mean, interesting to see how Kulusevski adapts this role. Is he going to be more cutting inside like he likes to do? Is he going to be tasked with going to the byline and taking people on and using his right foot more? It's going to be interesting to see how he adapts to it, but I'm sure with options around him, what Kulusevski needs, all he needs is options, and he'll pick them out. And I'm excited to see him with more players around him.
Yeah, we need a much bigger season from Dejan Kulusevski this year. After that stunning first season when he came in January, from then until the end of the season, he was literally one of the best players in the Premier League. But last year, it just didn't work out for one reason or another. Injuries were involved as well. So I'm expecting and hoping for a big season from Dejan Kulusevski this season. Moving over to the striker, and obviously Harry Kane. We all know the talks surrounding Harry Kane at the moment. But as for now, he is here with us. He is on the pre-season tour, and he will be banging in the goals.
Definitely. Yeah, he has to start. If he obviously doesn't start, all of a sudden the question marks are going to be raised. We know that Bayern aren't going away anytime soon in terms of his deal, but I'm sure that as long as he's here and available for selection, Ange's going to trust him and going to believe that he's giving 100%. So he starts.
Yeah. And then to make up that final 11 on the left-hand side, as you mentioned before, Heung-min Son. And it has been interesting because I agree from what I've seen, he is kind of tugging on the touchline, trying to get those crosses in for Harry Kane to finish off. Do you think that's the best role for him, though?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I would argue no. But I also felt like at times for Conte, he was playing more centrally, and also it didn't quite work for him, and he was going out wide to find more space. So I think he can work out wide. Obviously, he's been a very good winger for many years. I'm just worried. The only thing I'm worried about with Son is I think his biggest strength is his ability near the goal and his finishing ability. That's like that's like the thing he's truly elite at. And are you gonna are you going to waste that ability a bit by having him out wide too much, taking people on, trying to get crosses in? Not to say he can't do that role. I'm sure he can, but I don't think he's as elite in that role as he is at, being near the goal and finding the net. So I'm worried that it's just going to take away a bit from that. But I'm excited to see him back in maybe with a bit more space, in a bit more of a wider role, and see a bit more of a confidence on him potentially.
Yeah, you kind of just want him like hanging on that last defender and really trying to beat that offside trap and going one-on-one. That's where his real ability lies. And I do worry for him a bit if he's just going to be hugging that touchline and his just task is to get crosses in the box and feed Harry Kane. I do worry about him a bit in that sense. But let's run through that lineup. We do envisage this could be maybe the first half and maybe a hybrid in the second half. But let's run through it one more time. Vicario in goal, Porro right back, Reguilon left back, Romero and Tanganga in the centre back positions, Bissouma, Maddison and Ndombele in the three in midfield, with Kulusevski and Heung-min Son supporting Harry Kane. And if you look at this lineup, I mean, I actually really like this lineup. It's just the question marks for me: Ndombele, Tanganga and Reguilon. I think apart from that, you're looking at solid lineup.
Yeah, defence definitely looks a bit suspect, that's for sure. But I think that midfield three, I mean, I can't think of midfield three in the Premier League that has as much potential ability, or definitely source, like as much like creativity. I think physicality could be a problem. Obviously, Maddison and Ndombele ain't the most like physical of players. Bissouma definitely is, but those two aren't. So they'll definitely have to work on that if they're to be an effective three. But in terms of their on-the-ball ability, like that is a very good three to be working with, and to be and for the strikers to be working off, making runs and things like that. Like I can't think of too many midfields where you've got so much press resistance, ball playing ability, and potentially with Maddison there, like effectiveness in the final third as well.
Yeah, on Maddison's physicality, I mean, I get your point, but I feel like he's much improved his like off the ball side of his game and putting himself about and really putting in challenges and winning the ball back in good areas. So I think people will be pleasantly surprised on that part.
I'm not saying it doesn't work, but there's one thing. It's a bit like Eriksen. There's one thing working hard and actually being effective defensively. Those are two different things. Like Eriksen always made the runs and he always tracked his man, but he never really made too many tackles because he just wasn't very good at defending.
That's what I'm saying. Maddison does make a lot of tackles.
Okay, so look, hopefully if he's improved that, then won't have too much to worry about.
Well, let's look. This is the team that the previous team were playing against in training. So let's have a look at this one. So Brandon Austin in goal. So obviously Hugo Lloris was left off the tour to look at other targets. Fraser Forster was left at home because of an injury. So next in line is Brandon Austin.
Yeah, Whiteman is there out on the tour, but it looks like Brandon Austin's going to be the one preferred. No surprises, to be honest.
Yeah, and moving on to right back. And at right back, we're going to look at Emerson Royale.
Yeah, Emerson, he's the one obviously played an inverted right back potentially, who's quite suited to that spot. And I think Porro's brought in because he has a bit more on the ball ability, and I think Ange probably values that at the moment quite highly. But Emerson definitely has shown at right back he can play that role, and I think he also showed at the back end of last season he's improving his ability on the ball as well, his passing and moving. So I think if he can improve his ability to play within the team, I think because he's better defensively, he could take that role. But I think Porro probably has it for now.
Yeah, I really like Emerson. I think he's a really good character to have around. I think he's got quality to him as well. And as much as I was a culprit of it, I think you were a culprit of it. I think everyone was a culprit of it, of really kind of laying into him a bit too soon before he was really acclimatized to the Premier League. I think we've got a really good player on our hands in Emerson Royale. And I think with him and Porro, we've got two right backs who offer such different abilities and such different qualities. I think it's a really good facet to have in the squad. But moving on to the defence, on the right-hand side, he's been playing Davinson Sanchez there, much to our dismay.
Yeah, but he doesn't really have any options. As he dies, he's not fit enough, it seems. Neither is Rodon. So it's really slim pickings. You've got Romero and Tanganga already playing in the first team. So who else have you got left? So, I mean, it looks like Sanchez is still going to be off by the looks of things. But at the moment, while he's available, there's no other options.
Yeah, true. So this is a back two of Sanchez on the right and Ben Davis on the left in a back four. I mean, this is what nightmares are made of, aren't they?
You don't want a back two of that. I mean, Jesus Christ. You'd be licking your lips if you were a striker, that's for sure. Especially Davis being, not the tallest of centre backs and the most physical. Definitely fancy chances of getting at him physically. I do find it a bit not peculiar, but a bit interesting that he's looks like he's preferring Davis at centre back rather than left back right now in a back four. Obviously, there are question marks.
Not much choices though.
But again, yeah, it could be down to the lack of options. So, yeah.
And then on the left-hand side, Destiny Udogie. I mean, we all saw clips and highlights. If you want the videos on the channel, all Destiny Udogie's clips from last season. But I, for one, are super excited to see this guy in action. I think he could provide what we've been missing for a while now on the left-hand side of the defence, maybe even since Danny Rose has left. I think the attacking ability that this guy has is going to be absolutely brilliant. I do worry maybe a bit about the defensive side of his game and maybe in a back four as well, because he's never really done it and he was brought in for a wing-back system and Antonio Conte's system. But nevertheless, I'm still really excited to see him.
Yeah, you got to remember he's still so young. He's like 20 years of age or 21 years of age. He's still got a lot of time to learn his game and learn his position. I don't expect him to be starting the season as our starting left back, in my opinion, unless something happens to Reguilon and he leaves. So I think we have to be a bit patient with him. I think it's going to take him time to really bed in and show his full potential, but I'm sure when he does, he's going to really fly, and I think he's going to be an excellent addition to the team. I'm so looking forward to seeing him playing regularly.
Absolutely. So let's run through that back line with you guys one more time. In goal, Brandon Austin. Right back, Emerson Royale. Left back, Destiny Udogie, with Davinson Sanchez and Ben Davis in the centre-back positions. The number 6 in this team is going to be Ollie Skip.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me. I've said it before. I think that's his position. I think that's the position he's probably strongest at. that. I think he's got good game awareness, and I think he's got good positional awareness when he's playing that position. And he can really, he's got decent like ability to not ride challenges, but like keep further enough away from other players that he's quite good at keeping the ball there. Obviously, he has to work on a lot of things being in that position, but I do think in terms of the three positions in midfield, I think his position is the number 6.
Yeah, look, I agree his position is the number 6, but I do question about how much technical ability he has to maybe suit in an ANGE system. Remains to be seen. I think that he had a poor end to the season, but you know, people do forget how good he actually was when breaking into the team earlier on in the season before. So I think that look, Skip is a good player. I have no doubt he's a good player, but I just feel like maybe he doesn't have enough technical ability to survive in the 6th and ANGE system, but we'll see how that one goes. Next up in midfield, we've got Alfie Devine, which is a really interesting one. You know, Spurs fan base have been clucking to see this guy for a long time, and finally we're going to see him in a pre-season. I mean, we haven't seen him probably since he was 16 and he scored against Marine.
Yeah, and it's going to be really exciting if he gets a substantial amount of minutes. He is 18 now, so he's starting to get to that age where, I mean, oh look, 18 is still very young. Obviously, it's not like he has to be playing at 18, but he is maybe starting to get to the age where he's maturing into his body, and maybe it's he's starting to really flourish even when he's training with the first team. And if that's the case, it'll be so interesting to see how he plays if he does get minutes against a team like West Ham. And obviously, with no Bentancur's injured, Lo Celso seems like he's not involved at the moment. And Sarr as well. It seems to me he might even be ahead of Sarr right now, which would be a really amazing testament to what Postecoglou thinks of him. So if Devine can get a run out, that would be potentially one of the most exciting things to happen on the tour.
Yeah, we heard when Conte was here at the back end of last season that Devine was going to get his loan next season, which is this coming season. But, you know, if Ange sees something different and wants to make him part of the first team and really give him that pathway this season, I'm definitely up for that. And then the last in the midfield 3 is Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. His future is up in the air at the moment, but will be good to see him back.
Yeah, and you got to remember he's still one of the leaders in the group. He's still, I think, quite a trust him. He's in the leadership group as well, so he'll be playing. And I still think he's a good player. If a move happens, I think it's probably best for everyone for the money. But if he is to stay here, I still think he's quite a good squad option.
All right, so that's a midfield 3 of Højbjerg, Devine and Skip. And then moving on to the right-hand side of the attack, we're looking at Manor Solomon, our brand new signing from Shakhtar Donetsk on a free transfer. Interesting that's on the right-hand side.
Yeah, we're predicting this, but it looks like, we'll talk about the other person who's on the left a bit later, but I wonder how he's going to adapt, because obviously he's much more used to playing on the left. Maybe it'll help him be more of a winger who gets to the byline and does a lot more crossing rather than cutting inside and shooting. And also, I think it might be good for him just to help him adapt to the right-hand side, because I think he might have to play some minutes there potentially during the season. So we'll see how he gets on, but it's definitely going to be a different role for him.
Yeah, and he's definitely been looking all right in training as well, in the training clips that we have seen. Knows where the back of the net is, so definitely seems to be integrating pretty well, Manor Solomon. Moving on to the striker, we're looking at Richarlison leading the line in that number 9 role.
Yeah, and he's finishing as well on the clips that Spurs have released. He's been looking sharp. He's going to be our backup number 9 for sure now. Yeah, not too much else to say.
And then finally, on the left-hand side is Ivan Perisic. And we spoke about this, didn't we, a couple of days ago, about where Ivan Perisic could maybe fit in an ANGE system. And I think it's right for him there on the left-hand side. You know, he's got an absolutely wondrous shot on him, cross on him, I mean. And I actually feel he could be more suited to a left-hand side role under ANGE than Sonny is.
Yeah, potentially. I think his legs are definitely not what they were. So
yeah.
Whether he can like be a player who can like relentlessly take on his fullback through a 90-minute period, or even a 60-minute period remains to be seen. But clearly, when he does have those moments when he wriggles away from his marker, his crossing can be devastating, and he's got amazing technical ability. Remains to be seen whether he's going to be here for next season. Obviously, he's here right now, and again, he's another player who's one of the senior players in the group, so I'm sure he has a lot of the players' respect, especially for his career. But I think he's obviously back up right now, but whether he's here, I think it's still going to be unlikely if he's going to remain.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But, I think I was of the opinion of just get rid at all costs. But, I wouldn't mind him as a squad option, to be honest, for this one season. And he goes at a free at the end of the season. I think he still has something to give in terms of how good his crossing ability is, how many times he produced from set pieces as well, from corners and stuff like that. So I feel like he could be a good option, maybe off the bench, something like that.
For me, it depends. If we're going to let him go and not replace him, and if we're just going to let him go on a free and not replace him, I'd rather keep him. But if we're intending to get someone else in, if we let him go, then I'd get rid. But if we're not, I have a feeling we're done for signing attackers this window.
Yeah, potentially. But let's run through that lineup with you guys one more time. It's Brandon Austin in goal, right back Emerson Royale, left back Destiny Udogie, Sanchez and Davis in the centre back positions, with Skip in the number 6, partnered with Alfie Devine and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Perisic on the left, Solomon on the right, with Richarlison up top. But even this team, you've still got some, the front three looks all right. The midfield actually excites me with Alfie Devine there. It's just the defence, really, isn't it? I don't mind the fullbacks there either.
Yeah, fullbacks are all right. It's just centre-backs, really. And all of a sudden, you look at both those teams, and all of a sudden it looks like, okay, we've actually got quite good depth and quite good... it looks like we're building a decent squad until you obviously look at the centre-backs and you're thinking, it's not even the first team's not even good enough, let alone the depth. And it's just a really, really... it's madness that we've gotten this far still. We're not even that far away anymore from the start of the Premier League, and that hasn't been sorted yet. So it does have shades of last year a bit, where we've made some good signings, but we haven't really tried to fix the core problems in the squad just yet, which is clearly the centre-back issue. So hopefully we get that sorted as soon as possible. But I think the other elements of the squad are shaping up nicely.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we need to get those centre-backs in. We need 2 minimum. Looking at, how can we go into a season with even just signing 1 centre-back with those centre-back options? The only one that isn't there is Eric Dyer, because he's not fit enough to play as of yet. But, come on, guys. How can we go into a season with our centre-backs being Sanchez, Davis, Romero, Tanganga and Dyer?
Yeah, it's not good enough.
It's like championship level, literally. But look, what's your score prediction tomorrow?
I'm going to go 3-1 to Spurs.
3-1. I was thinking I'm going to go 3-2. 3-2. I think goals in Ange's first game, especially with that back line as well, with those centre-backs. I think there could be a lot of goals tomorrow. But look, let us know your score predictions in the comment section below. We're back on the watch-alongs tomorrow, 11 a.m. kickoff from Perth. We'll be bringing you every kick of the ball from Perth here on We Are Tottenham TV. So come and join us. We'll be doing a post-match fan show as well. So come and have your say on the game and how you think Spurs are doing on pre-season so far. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.